the Miami Dolphins. I remember, I've told the story many times. I was on my way to the press box. He had to take an elevator to get up there. It's always a guy named Smitty. He's operating the elevator. Hey, Smitty, yeah, take him up to the press box. No, they're clear. So I get in the elevator. I'm the only guy in the elevator at that point. And I ask him something, just to pass a little conversation along. Because, it feels awkward, right? Everybody's in the elevator and they're all staring at the floors. Like what floor it's going on? Nobody talks to each other.
The elevator ride is the most awkward ride. No one ever talks. Right?
People start smelling their own armpits to see if it's them. I thought I had deodorant, huh? In Lubie's case, I don't know what you would recommend. We were thinking maybe a Dilaudid drip. Because his worst fear is that Ryan Tannehill carries a team to a Super Bowl after he and many like him, including I don't know that I was adamant that he could never do it. Ian Eagle.
In regards to Lubie, he's not the first talk show host to fall victim to this. You make a statement, and then for the rest of your life, you root against that person because you don't want to be proven wrong.
Oh my God.
Like Ryan Tannehill is a nice guy. He's a class act. He's had a great second chapter with the Tennessee Titans. He's rebuilt his career. Yet there's Lubie in his basement with like a small little doll, sticking needles into the neck of Ryan Tannehill just because he doesn't want his original statement to come back to haunt him. And we've all been there. That's the thing. Like you can't get away from it, and it becomes very personal. Like there's no reason, there's no logical, rational reason for Mike to hate Ryan Tannehill.
Zero.
He's done nothing wrong.
He was nice to Lubie when he was on the show.
Nice.
Correct, and yet you still have these feelings of rage, which you may need to seek some form of treatment at this point. You need to talk to a professional. I can't help you. It's beyond my pay grade at this point.
The time.
Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
I didn't know you were leaving till you walked out the door. I didn't know.
Yes, those of you who didn't know, it's going to be me solo. Hi, how you doing? The one and only Defo will be back tomorrow. I think he may be back already, and he's just goofing off. I don't know. I think he survived. I stopped hearing from him Friday, so I think he survived. I think he's okay. Whenever he goes on these junkets to Vegas, he doesn't go broke, so that's usually a positive. But he doesn't win either. So I guess that's a win. Like if you don't go broke in Vegas, then that's a win. It wasn't a win for me when it came to my picks this weekend, but it was a win for everyone involved as we had a second straight weekend of tremendous NFL playoff action. The Super Bowl is set. Super Bowl XLV or Super Bowl 56 for those of you who really didn't learn Roman numerals in school. For the second straight year, we have never had a team playing in their home. Yes, you had, I think, a Los Angeles team play in LA, but it wasn't their home stadium. For the second straight year, up until this point, we had never had a team play in their home stadium. Now we've had it 2 straight years. The Bucs did it last year, demolishing the Chiefs for their second Super Bowl victory for Tom Brady's 7th. Speaking of Tom Brady. And this year, the Rams will be at home, I guess. I mean, if you watched that game yesterday, that wasn't a home. That was one of the most, it was like a Dolphins game when the Jets are in town. Like the Rams were the home team. It was at their stadium in Los Angeles. And whenever something good happened for the Niners, you heard cheering. And whenever something good happened for the Rams, it was like quiet. So I guess for the Super Bowl, it will be a home. I mean, because you'll get a lot of the LA people. So you think they're rooting for the Rams. But yes, for the second straight year, an NFC team will be at home hosting the Super Bowl. That is with the Cincinnati Bengals. The thing I got very wrong in this weekend's prognostications. The funny thing is, that's what we'll probably talk about the majority of the show, but it was a ridiculous weekend when it came to sports. Rafa Nadal. Yes, tennis is still going on. My dad gave me crap because my parents love tennis, and we used to be a tennis family. Like, we played tennis and watched all the finals together. I don't know what it is, but this era, I haven't given I guess there's not a lot of great American men playing. I don't know, but Rafa Nadal and Federer and Murray and Joker, it's like one of the greatest eras of tennis, right? For me, I hate it. Like, it sucks. Like, I haven't cared about tennis in over a decade. But Nadal winning his 21st Grand Slam, winning the Aussie in a classic over Daniil Medvedev, And now setting that record, we thought it was going to be Djokovic because Nadal banged up, Federer seems done. No, Nadal scorches through the Aussie Open and wins his 21st Grand Slam, setting that record for men's. That was impressive. Look, the other news of the weekend that hasn't been announced by the person himself, but at this point, every single news outlet, every place on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, at this point has done montages and reports and stories about Tom Brady retiring. At this point, it'd be, I think, classic if he doesn't. He hasn't come out and said it. Supposedly, the team has said Brady talked to Arians, he talked to the GM, Jason Light, and said he has to think about it. He's taking time. To me, that says he's pissed that he didn't break the news because he's Mr. TB12. He's Mr. Modern Day Athlete. Like, he's the LeBron of football, not only in play, but in like, I want to run my own shit. Like, he's sort of been pretty blatant about that. Like, he literally, the big issue he had with the Patriots was he wanted his own trainer because he wanted to promote his own garbage. His trainer's a lunatic. It's not about his trainer's so great. It's that it's his trainer. He wrote a book. He has a nutritional plan. He has a way of life. He set up his post-game career. And this athlete of this era wants to release their own info. So the fact that every news outlet has beat him to it, I think pisses him off. I think he's pissed that he didn't get to, I'm done, it's over. So he's holding back the news. But to me, if every single outlet, and they're running with it, they're not saying Brady retiring, ? They're like, Brady retiring, ! Do montage, 7-time Super Bowl champion, 2 different locations. Here's the history. Beating the shit out of Peyton Manning. You know, like they're doing the whole montage. Bledsoe getting hurt allows Brady to come in. Brady started as the guy who was, the game manager to going to the GOAT. Like, they're doing that whole thing. They usually don't do that unless they're on having a good authority that Tom Brady is done. So that was other huge news. Down here in South Florida, this is, by the way, after just 6 minutes, the Defo show with Lubie. No Defo, just Lubie. At 7:30, we will talk with Dave Hyde. And at 8 o'clock, we will go Dateline Dolphins, mostly Dateline football with the one and only John Congemi. Thank you to Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill of Key Largo. The other news, again, we are out of South Florida. Anyone who watches or listens, again, you can watch, just Google the Defo show, and you can listen to, like, look, you can watch and still listen and not watch it, but a lot of the time people want, the radio. That's our big thing is, you're not on the radio anymore. Yes, we are. Everyone's on the radio all the time now. We have a tuner. Doug does a great job with it. It's streaming constantly. I think it streams all day long, but especially live during our show, defoandlubie.com/live. And then you can just listen to us like the radio. Ooh, look at that. So anyways, the big news down here still is the Bengals. And we will talk lots about the title games as the Chiefs and Bengals were a good game, which I thought it would be. I thought it'd go the other way. I thought the Bengals would keep winning and win by double digits. They did not. The Bengals won in a classic. And then, of course, in the NFC, you had the Rams storming back and then holding off the Niners to take their trip to the Super Bowl. We down here are still without a coach for the Miami Dolphins. Now, there was, I think, 8 spots open. Now 4 have been taken. Las Vegas is supposedly, it hasn't been official, but it's supposedly hiring Josh McDaniels, the former Broncos head coach, but former New England Patriot offensive coordinator. A lot of people thought he'd stick around there to the end of Belichick, but it doesn't seem like Belichick's leaving anytime soon. So McDaniels is supposedly heading over to Las Vegas with one of their personnel people to take over at GM as they got rid of Mike Mack a couple weeks ago. You have the Chicago Bears. We've talked about that. Matt Eberflus, the former Indianapolis Colts defensive coordinator, is their new head coach. The New York Giants stole the guy that I wanted for the Miami Dolphins, Brian Dable, the guy that had worked with Tua, the guy that did a great job with Josh Allen. Seemed like he'd do a good job in Miami. Murmurs were he'd rather take the Miami job. Miami never offered him the job. So the Giants did. He is now going to be the next head coach for the New York Giants. Brian Dable, the former offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills. And the Denver Broncos, those Denver Broncos, hired their head coach. So that's 4 of the head coaching positions off the market. 4 left: Miami Dolphins, New Orleans Saints, Minnesota Vikings, and those Jacksonville Jaguars. But speaking of Miami, the word is Mike McDaniel, the offense coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers, is supposed to have a second interview this week. Kellen Moore, the offense coordinator for the Cowboys, by most accounts, isn't even in the running, but I guess it's going to have a second interview. The murmur all weekend is something that a lot of us thought the minute Brian Flores was fired, Jim Harbaugh. Now, Jim Harbaugh, for the last 2-3 weeks, you haven't really heard his name a lot. The Raiders supposedly were interviewing him. Minnesota supposedly is interviewing him. The Dolphins have not interviewed him. And Stephen Ross made the proclamation, I will not take a man away from my beloved Michigan. Well, here's the deal. If Harbaugh's interviewing for other NFL jobs, and he's made it clear, if someone wants me in the NFL, I'm going to go. Well, if you're Miami and you're Stephen Ross, you're not taking him. That's the semantics. Well, it's words. Well, Nick Saban wasn't going to Alabama and then did. Like, people say things that they don't mean, especially when it comes to professional sports. However, also how you say it matters too. If you say, I'm not taking him, but then he's about to leave and you redirect him, that's not exactly taking. So a lot of the scuttlebutt the last couple of days, at least out of South Florida and nationally, is Jim Harbaugh is supposedly in the works to become the Miami Dolphins head coach. I don't know. I am a little flabbergasted by the whole thing. It seems like Dabo would have been a good fit and wanted to be here. I offer him the job. The kid McDaniel, and he's not a kid. He's been coaching a long time in the NFL, but he's still young, and he hasn't been an offensive coordinator long. This is the offensive coordinator for the Niners. He hasn't been offensive coordinator long, and again, he's one of those offensive coordinators under an offensive-minded head coach. And Kyle Shanahan supposedly is highly involved in the offense, if not totally calling plays. So you don't know what Mike Daniel's doing, to be honest. So a lot of people like him. He seems, like a McVay, Shanahan, young guy who's creative, which Brian Flores was not. So you would think he's hip, all hipster, all that crap. So you would think, okay, a lot of the time teams do a 180 from one coach to the next. I don't know. The Harbaugh thing I think is interesting. I don't know if he would even be a good hire. He hasn't been in the pros in a few years now. He's been with Michigan, and when he left, it did not go well at the end in San Francisco. But while he was in San Francisco, he had a ton of success. So I'm a little open on what the hell to do with Jim Harbaugh. I'm a lot wide open on what the hell to do with the Super Bowl, as the Cincinnati Bengals, for the first time since 1988, are in the Super Bowl. Now, they played well. Joe Burrow is Joe Cool. Joe Burrow is legit, was worth the number one pick, and a guy that seems like he'll be the franchise superstar for the Cincinnati Bengals that they haven't had since Boomer Esiason. Like, literally, we've been looking for a quarterback since 1999 down here. They've been looking for a quarterback since 1990. In Cincinnati. So if they have their guy. I mean, Joe Burrow's a dude, and the way he played in these playoffs, the way he went toe-to-toe with Mahomes. Mahomes was a total disaster. The last play of the first half and the entire second half, Mahomes sucked. I mean, he sucked. Like, he just did. Like, people in the Bengals should deserve credit. Their defense played well. The offense moved the ball. The offense scored when they had to. Mahomes particularly gave the game away. Like, he was horrendous. He had receivers running wide open. He had plenty of time, and he was missing guys left and right, like 5 yards overthrowing without getting hit, scrambling around the goal line when he didn't need to. He makes amazing plays, and a lot of that's the problem. Defo says this all the time, and he's right about coaches. It's also right about players. Don't get cute. Look, sometimes you got to escape, and you got to make a great play, and that's amazing, but you can't live and die by that. And that's what ended up getting Brett Favre at the end. Brett Favre was amazing when he was young, middle of his career. But the older he got, he kept trying to do the crazy shit, and eventually catches up with you. And that's what happened. Mahomes, you saw it in front of you yesterday. Early in the game, made an amazing play, threw a touchdown to Travis Kelce. That's got to be the last time that happens. Like, it's the AFC Championship game. No. Mahomes tries it like by the goal line multiple times and loses 3 to 5 to 10 yards. That's the only issue for Mahomes. Is he's the best quarterback in the league to me, but he knows it. So the problem with that is he takes advantage of it all too often, and we've seen it in big games. Look, he hasn't been stellar in the Super Bowls. Like, he sucked for 3 quarters versus the Niners 2 years ago. He just had a great last 7 minutes. He was horrendous. Now, it wasn't really his fault. His offensive line was abysmal, but he was getting killed and was not good versus the Bucs last year. And now we see him yesterday. Look, he had a great quarter and a half. Before the half, they had 9 seconds left. They're inside the 5. Cool. You have no timeouts if you're the Chiefs. They were up 21-10 at that point. The Bengals had just scored. They were up 21-3. You can get a touchdown, make it 28-10, or at least get a field goal, right? You're up 2 scores, and they were getting the ball to start the second half. Mahomes, Andy Reid has all the trust in the world, Mahomes, and he should. He's been an MVP, Super Bowl MVP. He's He's won a Super Bowl, been to 4 straight AFC championship games, been to back-to-back Super Bowls. We're trying for a 3rd straight Super Bowl. Mahomes, go for it. But anyone knows you go into the end zone because you have no timeouts, or you kick a field goal. No, Mahomes, for some reason, he wasn't getting pressured. Threw a screen to Tyreek Hill, which, look, Tyreek Hill's great, but a screen on the goal line with no timeouts, he got clobbered at the 2-yard line, go to halftime, no points. And it just the Bengals had just scored. This is what the Bengals had done this to the Chiefs earlier in the year. And it was the exact same score at halftime, 21-10, when the Bengals came back and overtook the Chiefs and won. And it sort of felt like the air was let out of the Chiefs. And the Bengals, this young upstart team that's done this all playoffs, started to build confidence. And then you saw coming out in the second half, the Chiefs offense was ass. Like, literally, they couldn't be stopped in the first half. They couldn't get anything started. They couldn't do anything in the second half. And it all had to do with Mahomes. Point blank. Like, their offensive line was fine. He had time. You would see he had guys open. He either was slow to the trigger to get rid of it, or if he threw it, he'd overthrown by like 5-10 yards. It was just weird. And the funniest thing about the game is, even after that, and the Bengals hung with them. Like, the Bengals stormed back, came back from 18 down. Only the second time in conference championship history, or at least AFC conference championship history. It was an amazing feat. The Bengals look good on defense and on offense. I'm not trying to take anything from them. I actually like Burrow, and I think the Bengals are exactly what I wanted the Dolphins to be, as quickly as they've done it. But if you're watching that game, anyone's talked about it, the story is Mahomes, and they should have ran away with the game. The funny thing is, they still had a chance to win at the end. Like, the Bengals take the lead before overtime. The game ended up going into overtime, 3-point lead. Chiefs march down the field quickly, run out the clock. Looks like they're going to go in for the score to win the game and drain out the clock. They have 2nd and goal from like the 5. And the Bengals had timeouts. So you want to make sure they use their timeouts, and you want to make sure you run the clock, right? So instead of running it, because that's the move, they run it well, the Chiefs, 2 to 3 yards at a clip. They go to shotgun, very much like McVay did last week with the Rams, which I don't get it. Again, getting cute, whether it's Bieniemy, Reed, or Mahomes. You didn't need it. The run game was working. The Bengals have a nice defense, but not a great defense. You're at the 5, run the ball, get it to the 2 or the 3, make it 3rd and goal, run the clock down under 40 seconds, go punch it in, get the touchdown, game over. No, they go from the shotgun. Mahomes gets sacked, loses 3 yards. Now it's 3rd and goal from the 8. Now you can't run it. Shotgun again. Mahomes loses like 10 yards. Now what was either an easy touchdown or an easy field goal is now a 44-yard field goal. They make the field goal. Butker makes it as time expired, but it was a letdown. Instead of winning the game, the Bengals thought the game was over. Chiefs had to settle for a field goal, which is rare. Go to overtime. Chiefs get it. So much like last week, everyone assumes Kansas City's going to win, not the Bengals. The Bengals deserve a lot of credit in this regard, as they never got down. The Chiefs are a very scary team when they start rolling. Bengals didn't give a shit. And in overtime, Bengals lost it. Burrow's like, eh. And Mahomes like, yes. And they went 3 and out. Chiefs went 3 and out. Bengals got the ball, went down, ran a clock, kicked the field goal, won the game. And won 27-24. And now our Super Bowl features the Cincinnati Bengals. So all my friends who are Bengals fans, which there's some out there, I am jealous of you because I've never seen my Dolphins in the Super Bowl. You probably don't remember your Bengals in the Super Bowl. Now you will. The NFC was very interesting, as in a lot of people were on the Niners because they just seemed like the team of destiny. And the Rams just seemed like this team that can't enjoy good. Like versus the Rams, versus the Niners to end the season, they gave up a 17-0 lead. Last week versus the Bucks, they gave up a 24-point lead. Now they did win versus the Bucks, but it was in way too close a fashion. So a lot of people didn't trust the Rams. Look, yesterday, you probably felt strong about that as the Niners got out to a 17-7 lead. But Matt Stafford is he still takes some chances, but he's a different dude. Like, he's not like in Detroit. You always felt like he was going to give it away. With this Rams team, with Cooper Kupp and Odell Beckham Jr. and Akers and Michelle, and they have a really solid line, and they have good tight ends. Like, he doesn't have to do everything, and he doesn't. And he just was calm, cool, collected. Matt Stafford came back. They tied it up 17-17, took the lead 2017, and held off the Niners. And the Rams are, again, for the second straight year, the home team, sort of, in the Super Bowl. XLV, Super Bowl 56, 2 weeks from yesterday. Yes, it'll be like the middle of February this year. which is cool. I mean, it keeps going. It's going to be in April at some point. But yes, it was a very exciting. After last weekend, we didn't think we'd get great games again. We did. Both games came down to the wire. Both games were interesting, and both dogs covered. The Rams were laying 3 and a hook. Niners lost by 3, so they covered. And the Bengals were, or the Chiefs were laying 7 and a hook, and the Bengals won outright. So Mark Lawrence and anyone who loves those dogs, I was wrong. I thought I was strongly behind the Chiefs. Wrong. And I was on the Rams game. I wouldn't have bet it, but I thought the Rams would win and cover. So doubles 0-2. So Defo's laughing. But if you love dogs, and we do here, we are big fans of the underdog, then you were barking all weekend long. Again, the NFL head coaching carousel, 50% done, for the jobs taken, for the jobs wide open. Miami Dolphins, one of those. Have a busy week of interviews. The big rumor is Jim Harbaugh may be the Miami Dolphins' next head coach, but they haven't interviewed him. So I don't know how that works. We will talk with Dave Hyde, the legend, the icon, the man, the myth himself, Dave Hyde, at 7:35, as he's covered South Florida sports for, I think, 3 decades, around there. I don't want to age the man, but he's covered South Florida sports a long time. He's our go-to when it comes to South Florida sports at large. The Miami Heat lost a thriller, triple overtime thriller Saturday to the Raptors. They're still number 1 seed in the NBA's Eastern Conference. Half game up on those Chicago Bulls as we inch closer to the All-Star game. And Hoops actually is playing well. My Knowles are a disaster, and Leonard Hamilton, as Leonard Hamilton does, has a really talented team, and he's underwhelming. Canes Hoops have done the opposite. A lot of people weren't talking about them coming into the season, and outside of Florida State, beating them in the last second twice. The Canes have played really well lately, and our guy, we love him, Coach Jim Larinaga, has the Canes rolling. I think they're number 1 by themselves in the Atlantic Coast Conference, the ACC. So sports is abounding. This is the Defo Show with Lubie. Defo, we'll be back tomorrow, I promise. I see the numbers going up and down. Like, where the hell's Defo? He's fine. I haven't talked to him, but that means he's usually fine. I've seen pictures. From what I know, he comes in today, and we'll be back tomorrow with me here. Okay, so thank you for tuning in to me. Again, we'll have Dave Hyde at 7:35, and we will have the one and only John Congemi at 8 o'clock. Dateline Dolphins. Talk lots about the Dolphins, lots about the NFL playoffs, and the NFL head coaching carousel with the former Pitt Panther, St. Thomas legend, and he does lots of stuff with the Dolphins today. John Congemi, thank you to Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill of Key Largo. What's interesting is, and we always get to the gambling angle, of course, the number is already out for the Super Bowl, and the Rams are already a favorite. That's what's funny. Like, I still have this feeling, and I said it all last week, like, the Bengals, Bengals, because they're the Bungles, right? And Joe Burrow's coming off a major injury, and they just feel like this team that they have a lot of talent, and they're fun, and good for them. Jamar Chase, and woohoo, a young coach that came from a McVay kind of a tree. That's really cool. Yay, Zach. But it just feels like they're too young to be here. Too young to be here. Well, they've crashed the party, and they're in the friggin' Super Bowl for the first time since 1988. So they had gone to back-to-back Super Bowls versus the Niners in the 80s, and with Boomer Esiason, who's a Hall of Fame caliber. I think he is a Hall of Famer. Since then, they've had lots of quarterbacks, lots of coaches, lots of struggles. They have their man in Joe Burrow. That's the other. There's always, like, Deef always jokes about the ex-Dolphin factor. What are we doing? Okay. I love that people, like, I'm hosting and doing everything. So whatever you're saying, the Chiefs went 3 and out. I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about, but the Chiefs went 3 and out in the overtime. They did nothing on that drive. Or sorry, like, people are so funny, like, on Twitter, and, like, they say, well, you're wrong. It wasn't 3 and out. They got a first down and then went 3 and out. Who gives a shit? Like, they're the Chiefs. They got the ball. The idea was it's going to be over, and they did nothing with it. Mahomes sucked. And anyone who knows anything about sports has been very consistent. Mahomes was bad. And it wasn't because of the Bengals. It was he looked shook. He took it upon himself to make the call before half. Andy Reid trusted in him. He made a stupid-ass decision. It failed. The entire team was deflated. And from that point on, the Chiefs' offense was abysmal. I mean, you can look at the stats. You look at time of possession. Look at the score. They made one. The Chiefs, who had 21 points in like a quarter and a half, had 3 at the buzzer with 0 time left in the second half. So whoever you are, John, I appreciate your chat, but you're wrong. And people need to get their stick out of their ass. Like, I don't have a perfect memory. but I was right in the sense that the Chiefs got the ball and did nothing. The Bengals got it back and won. There you go. So anyways, the Bengals just, it's funny. People felt like the Niners were the team of destiny. No, the Niners lost. Team of destiny is the Bengals, because at least the Niners have been to a Super Bowl. They have a coach that was offensive coordinator in the Super Bowl, and they have a quarterbacking team that was 6 minutes away from winning a Super Bowl 2 years ago. The Bengals are a team that had a quarterback who missed at least almost half the year last year with a bad injury, came back and is in year 2, and they're in the Super Bowl. So they're the team of destiny, and we keep writing them off. And by we, I say me, keep writing them off. I don't know how long we can write them off. Like, they're a 4-point underdog, and they're the team that's coming, right? Like, every game they've gotten better. Every game they played stronger. Every game, no matter what's happened. Look, to me, the Chiefs lost the game, not the Bengals winning. It doesn't matter, right? The Chiefs kept screwing up. The Bengals were there to take advantage of it, and Joe Burrow specifically. And they seem to be like a runaway freight train. Like, once it breaks through the gate, it just goes faster and faster and faster. That's the Bengals. Look, I'll probably be on the Rams too. And I'll probably be wrong again, because the Bengals just seem to be a team that is on the come up, much like what we wanted from our Dolphins on here in Miami. This is the Defo Show right here on ION channel. We do this each and every day from 7 to 9 a.m. Coming up next, 7:35, so close to next. One and only Dave Hyde. Follow him on Twitter at Dave Hyde Sports with the South Florida Sun Sentinel. Covers all of South Florida sports, but he always has his eye on the Miami Dolphins. It's just so funny because the Bengals were in the same shape as the Dolphins. Bengals and Dolphins are going head to head in 2019 for the number 1 overall pick, or 2020. Whoever the John guy is, I'm sorry. I don't have the fucking Wikipedia in front of me. In Google, I'm actually like doing work. The Bengals and Dolphins were going head to head. Dolphins were tanking. They weren't even hiding it, except for Flores, who wanted to keep starting Ryan Fitzpatrick. And the Bengals got the number 1 pick and Joe Burrow. I still like Tua, but Tua clearly isn't a guy that's going to win. Tua is clearly not a guy that's going to win without the help. Burrow, a lot of people don't give him enough credit for the help he has. His receiving core is ridiculous. But his offensive line sucks, and he makes do without it, and he is impressive in a way that Tua hasn't been yet. So the Bengals seem to have gotten their rebuild right. They're in the Super Bowl, and the Dolphins are looking for another coach. What is it, the 3rd coach in 4 years? 5 years? Ugh. It's like the 10. I don't even, keeping track of the Dolphins coaches is like keeping track of their quarterbacks. It makes you sad and hurts your stomach. We'll see if the Dolphins ever get, it's funny, my wife is not into sports at all, and she just likes making fun of me, but this one hurts because it feels true. She's like, you're never seeing the Dolphins in a Super Bowl. And she was just saying it because she has no idea what she's talking about, just to be a jerk. But she probably was right. Like, I'm 39. I haven't seen them in a Super Bowl. I've seen them in one AFC championship where they should have won. We're at home versus a Chargers team where they could have been at home in the Super Bowl and then got demolished or lost. I don't remember. I was young. So they either got demolished or lost. I don't remember how close it was. But they lost to Stan Humphries and the Chargers, who then went on to get demolished by the Niners in the mid-90s in the Super Bowl. That was the closest I've ever seen the Dolphins to a Super Bowl. And since Marino's been gone, they have been an utter shit show. Highlight the shit. So I don't know when they'll be. Look, the fact that their nickname is the Bungles, and it fit. They got Gosser and Palmer. They had a ton of talent with Marvin Lewis. They were going to the playoffs like seemingly every year. They couldn't win a playoff game. They started all the way over, and they corrected things before the Dolphins. Ugh, it like hurts my head. So we'll see if the Dolphins ever get back on track. The Bengals are. The Rams are. We'll talk a lot about that. We'll talk a lot about the NFL head coaching search. We'll talk about the NBA's Miami Heat. You want to talk about surprises? The Miami Heat, a lot of people had written off as like a 5th or 6th seed. They're young guys that played really well. Spoelstra's back to showing his coaching chops. And the Heat seem to be on the precipice of a deep playoff run. So we'll talk about all that with the one and only Dave Hyde from South Florida Sun Sentinel. Again, follow him up on Twitter at Dave Hyde Sports. You can always check us out here. I got to touch base with the one and only Frankie Fiore, as Hialeah Park Racing and Casino had their major fights Friday. We had Louis DeCubis on with us Friday to talk about the card. It was a 10-fight card. The weather was spectacular all weekend. It actually was perfect because it was cold, but not freezing. Like, it was 50s, which is freezing for us, but that's not freezing. Like, that's glorious weather. Went out, like, Saturday was outside. spent a lot of time outside. Was thinking about Friday night, we did my wife's birthday weekend this weekend. So wasn't able to get down to Hialeah, but I'm not going to lie, I missed it because they put on a great show, and this weather was perfect for outdoor fighting. I always check out Hialeah Park. Great gaming, great food, great drinks, great fun. Frankie Fiore and that crew do an amazing job over at Hialeah Park, hialeahpark.com. Just check them out, and they will definitely take care of you. I talked a little bit about what I was going to do this weekend. It was the wife's birthday, or Shirley's birthday is Wednesday, but we had to pick a weekend to celebrate it, so we did it the before weekend. And Saturday, we did a thing that everyone made fun of me for, that I can't lie, turned out pretty cool. We went on a boat in high 40s, low 50s weather, and sat in bathing suits on a jacuzzi. Yes, the boat was literally a small boat that had 2 jacuzzis. And on the intercoastal, it was a blast. Like, it was really freaking cool. See the city, I think it's I don't know. It was a really good time. We really enjoyed it, and we're probably going back. So my wife, who loves to have me risk my life, a lot of the time is right, and we had a great time. I had a tremendous weekend. Really enjoyed all the sports action. Hopefully you did too. Coming up next, hopefully you enjoy our conversation with the one and only Dave Hyde, right here on the Devo Show with Lubie on Eye on Sports.
Grella here. You know, since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapists, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
Championship meet is right around the corner at Gulfstream Park. The only place for live racing, Gulfstream's action has never been hotter. Whether it's on the track, in the casino, or part of the dining and entertainment offered at the Village of Gulfstream Park. Currently running Thursday through Sunday, Gulfstream's racing package is the best in the country, with all the top horses and people in the game pointing towards another tremendous winter season. Check out the remodeled first floor casino, open 7 days and nights a week, along with the many special events and concerts happening at Gulfstream Park. You can place your wagers from anywhere at firstbet.com. Check the calendar of events at gulfstreampark.com.
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Buy or lease a Taos and take it to the house at Deal Volkswagen. Anna and her team make your next VW purchase or lease so easy with new inventory rolling in daily and the biggest selection of certified pre-owned vehicles in the business. You can make your deal online at dealvolkswagen.com or visit the beautiful showroom in the classic location, 3601 Bird Road, right in the heart of the Gables. Or give Anna and the team at Deal a call at 305-448-DEEL. Jettas, Passats, Tiguans, Atlas models, and the hottest vehicle in the industry, the new Taos, all at unbeatable prices and all ready to roll off the showroom floor at the #1 Volkswagen dealership around, Deal Volkswagen. Let's hope we're dead wrong about a lot of things. That could be another book that we put out. Let's hope we're dead wrong about a lot of things. The end is near. You can tell the end is near, man. You could definitely do that.
The modern day odd couple, Defo and Lubie, are on now. It is, of course, the Defo Show.
Good morning, one and all. Welcome back to the Defo Show with Lubie. No Defo. We have it backwards today. But no worries. We have a man that is definitely in some Hall of Fame somewhere, if not all of them. He's a man that's in definitely our show Hall of Fame. Been covering South Florida sports a long time with the South Florida Sun Sentinel, the one and only Dave Hyde joins us here today on the Ion channel. Good morning, Dave. How you doing?
I'm going to put that on my portfolio now. The Defo Hall of Fame, just to make people look at, like, what is that? What is that? And who else is in it? You know, who else? Who am I in with? Just so
probably with Ian Eagle, Leslie Visser, and then like 5 different jockeys, which is good company, okay. I would think. This is Dave Hyde. Follow him up on Twitter at Dave Hyde Sports. All right, so before we get to the Dolphins coaching search, which is the big news down here, we had a little action this weekend. So I was 0 for 2 when it comes against the spread. I'm not going to lie, because I was going, I guess, favorite. What were your thoughts on the playoffs? As after last week, and we didn't think we'd get great games. Well, we were wrong. We got 2 great games once again.
I mean, you know, I'm just putting up a story right now on the Sun Sentinel website about, you know, it's the great thing about sports is it's the storyline, the Super Bowl's failure. I mean, you got Matthew Stafford at 12 years in Detroit. Joe Burrow couldn't start over Dwayne Haskins at Ohio State. I mean, look at the Cincinnati Brain Trust. Mike Brown is considered a skinflint who inherited from his dad, a legend. Zach Taylor, the former Dolphins quarterback coach, down here at the time, it was like no one thought anything of him, except he was Mike Sherman. Mike Sherman, the offensive coordinator, was his father-in-law, and that's how he got the job. And then Lou, I can't even pronounce his last name.
I think it's Anarumo.
He was a secondary coach here, and I talked to him a few times. He's a really interesting guy, but when he was fired in 2017, it was just like another guy passing through town, and there he was Sunday. If Joe Burrow ran the start of the game, it was him, because second half at halftime adjustments, and they shut down Kansas City's high-powered offense, and that was the story of the game. So, it's what I love about sports: all these failures succeeding.
Well, and talking about failure, it's funny. It's hard to be a Dolphin fan or someone who knows the Dolphins and around the Dolphins and not connect. Like, I was watching the game, trying to enjoy the game, but being on Twitter, it's hard to not go, what if? Like, you're watching that game going, weren't the Bengals and Dolphins tanking around the same time? Weren't both of them trying to get a young quarterback? Like, people kept doing it, and look, it's hard to ask a team to lose, but it just seemed like the Dolphins were trying and the Bengals succeeded. Were you watching that game sort of going, what if as well, when it came to the Dolphins and the Bengals?
I played that so long, and that look, the point here is, the front office was tanking.
Yeah.
But somehow they hired a coach who wasn't on board. Yeah. He wasn't tanking. I mean, you talk, I know that Brian Flores got fired because of communication issues and all that good stuff. But where was the communication when they hired him? I mean, where did they not go over, look, we're going to get the number 1 pick. Okay, that's our goal. And there they are in the 15th game of the year. Cincinnati rallied to make it a game, I believe, if that's how it worked. Yep. And then the Dolphins won a meaningless game, and then they won another meaningless game at New England, and then they blew the 4th pick, or 5th pick, which we won't get into either. So, I mean, these are taboo subjects right now with Dolphins. They go crazy when you mention them.
This is the Defo Show with Lubie here on the Iron Channel, talking to the one and only, our Hall of Famer, Dave Hyde. Again, follow him up on Twitter at Dave Hyde Sports. Look, the Dolphins are always, it's just funny because the Bengals were literally called the Bungles, and they weren't mad about it. Like, they were one of the fan bases that wore bags on their heads, and people were like, yeah, that's about right. And to see them fix it in seemingly 2 to 3 years is really interesting, when the Dolphins have been trying to fix it for 20 years and haven't really seemed to get any steam. Brian Flores seemed to have that steam, and they got rid of him. As they transition to that topic, because we've now seen 4 head coaching jobs filled, 4 still available. The Dolphins are one of them. They're supposedly interviewing some people this week. Brian Daboll, who was supposedly one of the top candidates, gets taken off the market by the New York Giants. Before we get into specifics, where are you with the Dolphins head coaching search?
Well, I wrote a column yesterday that said this is all nonsense what the Dolphins are doing, and the only way it makes any sense is if they're slow cooking to, as NFL people are whispering, in the market for Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah.
Okay. The only way this all comes together, plan A is this. Public plan A is this. Right now, they're interviewing Kellen Moore and Mike McDaniel, neither of whom have much of a portfolio. I mean, there's things to like about each of them, but to say, boy, this guy's going to step in and be a head coach. What the Dolphins have done, if they hired either of them, is they've said, here's the quarterback. We're going to try to keep our defense intact. And we don't really want you to be a head coach in the traditional sense. We're going to diminish the role till you're really an offensive coordinator. Because anybody who can't hire their own staff or, decide on the quarterback that's those are the two subjects for a head coach, a traditional head coach. So they're either going that route, or it's like, and if some people, and I put this in the column, were whispering by the end of last week that Harbaugh's in play, and at the national signing date on Wednesday. After that, the NFL, it broke over the weekend. Pro said he's interviewed with Minnesota. There's whispers he's talked to other teams, and so you imagine the Dolphins are right in the middle of that.
Well, and that was when the news broke of Flores, and we talked with you about this. My first reaction, and Defo usually makes fun of me, he didn't, because it was his first reaction too, was Harbaugh. Like, Flores had just won a bunch of games, whatever you want to do with the first 8. He had just gone 8 of 9. The whole Tua thing is what it is, but most people agree with what we think he thinks about Tua. So it's not like it's like a stretch for people to think Tua is not great. So it seemed like at least Flores was getting another year. Maybe Greer will be gone, and then you go from there. For him to be fired, it was like, Harbaugh. And then when Ross says what he says, well, I will never take Harbaugh from Michigan. The key word there is take, to me, because I remember talking to Defo and a buddy, and I was like, yeah, but what if Harbaugh's leaving anyways? Like, if Harbaugh's leaving anyways, why wouldn't you rather him be with you than somewhere else? And that's supposedly the magical term there is, if he's really leaving, then why not to Miami?
Yeah, I asked Ross the question because that was as soon as they hired Flores, you don't make that firing unless you have something. Yep. And my thought was, okay, they got Harbaugh on hand. So I asked Ross, and he said just what you said, which was, I'm not going to be the Alabama coach. Oh, no, he said, I'm not going to hire the Michigan coach. That's what he said. And so, look, this had to be in play. And yes, there's a lot of, look, when Steve Ross, when I first met him in his office in New York, we were sitting there talking, and his phone rang, and it rang Hail to the Victor, the Michigan fight song.
Jesus.
Okay, his name is
on the business building. Yeah.
His name is on the Michigan School of Business. It's the Steve Ross. His ties to Michigan are as strong as his ties to the Dolphins. So the only way he could probably hire Harbaugh and keep his friends there is if, just as you say, Harbaugh says, I'm leaving anyways. And now it's come out, he's interviewed with Minnesota. So now there's a lot. It's easier for the Dolphins and Ross to make that play. So we'll see what happens now. I would assume Harbaugh likes Steve Ross. I mean, he's the money guy at Michigan. He's a big supporter there, but who knows what their relationship is. And so I think we're going to find out real quick here.
If Harbaugh's the guy, let's say he is, and we love playing that game. That's what we do here. Is that a good hire? Not by everyone, a lot of people are like, yeah, Harbaugh, because they just remember the Super Bowl run and Kaepernick, and he won with Alex Smith. But it didn't end well in San Francisco. And it seems to be, it's gone sort of, Michigan. This year he had a lot of success, and then he's leaving. Like, is that a great hire? If they can go get Jim Harbaugh, Dave Hyde, are you thinking good for the Dolphins?
Well, let's look at the options. It's like Chris Rock when he talks of his jokes about one spouse cheating on the other. It all comes down to options, right? What are your options? Options. So, yeah, look at this hiring market. Is there anybody out there who really, really excites you? And so you stack Harbaugh's portfolio up against, the options, and yeah, he's the best guy. I think now, is he a slam dunk where you think, yeah, he's going to be great? No. And especially when you hear about they got rid of Flores because he was a crazy man inside. He didn't get along with people. He's all this stuff. Now, what's the one thing we know about Harbaugh? He's a crazy man as a head coach. Okay, you look, and I don't say that necessarily in a bad way. I think most head coaches in football a lot of them are a little crazy, but he's look, he took San Francisco to a Super Bowl. He's had success. He hasn't had great success at Michigan. But if you're saying, is he more accomplished than the other people on the job market? Yeah, he's the best, most accomplished guy out there.
We were talking to the one and only Dave Hyde. Again, follow him up. He's great on Twitter at Dave Hyde Sports. And of course, the thing Defo and I have struggled to do, but it's like $1. You should definitely buy this South Florida Sun Sentinel and read what he does pretty much on a daily basis. He does a great job with the Sun Sentinel covering South Florida sports. So speaking of that, we'll move on to the other two organizations that have seemingly figured it out in South Florida. The Miami Heat, it's funny, they made a lot of moves in the offseason that I was really happy about, and a lot of South Floridians were, but nationally they sort of went eh. And it seemed like all those moves with Eric Spoelstra combined for a team that is a title contender. The Heat now sit in the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference and have been there for like the last week or so. Had a thriller Saturday that probably went under the radar versus Raptors, but have played really well and have actually found some depth, and supposedly they're getting Morris and possibly Oladipo back. What is your take on the Heat just after the halfway point?
What they've done in the first half is an organizational feat. I mean, from finding some of these guys, the Max Struses and the all these the latest Duncan Robinsons, really.
Yes.
And so they not only find them through scouting, they put them in the minor leagues where, their development leagues, they take really serious. They have 2 summer league teams. I mean, they do things other teams don't. So they take it seriously. And then Eric Spoelstra and his staff gets them, and they not only develop them, but find, great roles and ways to use them that, a lot of teams are afraid to play younger players or unproven. And Spoelstra, that's one of his great strengths. And it's shown this year. What Spoelstra's done in massaging night by night, it seems like the lineup. All that said, yeah, I think the Heat are as good as anybody in the East right now. But until Lowry and Bam and Butler get there and playing together for several weeks, until they get out there, you're not really exactly sure how good or where this team's going to go, because the season doesn't really start till those guys play, because these are wonderful stories and everything about, guys making careers and no names becoming names, but they're not going to carry you to an NBA title. It's those 3 guys, and the other guys filling in around them are going to. So when those 3 get back, and they haven't played together since the end of November, when they get back together, then we'll see where the season goes.
Well, that's the key stat of the season, right? Like, it's the stat that shows how great Spo is, how great Ellisberg is, and Arison and Riley, like the organization as a whole. The fact that they've had their top 4 and all our all-star caliber players. Hero this year is putting up an all-star season. Those 4 have only played 11 games together. The fact that that's
crazy.
A case is great for them, but it's also, like, when will that number change? That's great, but at some point they need to start playing together so that we can figure out, are they a real contender or just a fun team? A team that seems real that you, your former colleague Mike Mayo, have sort of been, they're fun, but, and South Florida's been with you, as if you watch their games, they're still not getting packed houses. Florida Panthers, we're now probably well over the halfway point in the NHL season, and they're tied for the league lead still with Colorado in points with 67. Have you bought in yet, Dave Hyde? Because I know you were a fan. You definitely pay attention to them in a way not everyone does down here, but you also were on the fence of being all in. Have you gone all in with the Florida Panthers just yet?
Absolutely.
Nice.
Not only, how they're playing, as far as, from one night to another, they're the top team in the NHL or number 2, they're right there, but certainly in the East. But their style of play it's so fun to watch. I mean, that's the thing. Sometimes you get a great team that's great, but you appreciate the winning, but they're not all that fun to watch. The Panther team, with their scoring and their electricity on offense is something to watch. And what Bill Zito has, he inherited some good pieces, but those pieces had been losing for years. But then he added, 6, 7, 8, 9 players that have made, that were struggling elsewhere and came in here, and all of a sudden they're playing great. And but yeah, it wouldn't be a surprise they win the Stanley Cup this year. I mean, I went out there. I'm kind of disappointed. I was trying to get out there. They came home for a couple games this weekend, and I was going to go to a practice Friday, and they canceled that. And I wrote a column a few weeks ago, and they know they're good. They have a swagger to them too, which it's really weird for anybody like me who's been around them for the past quarter century when they haven't won a playoff series to hear swagger from the Panthers. But it's very healthy swagger too. And I'm a believer.
Well, and that's what the most interesting part about that team, especially this year, is the whole Quenneville thing happens, and they did struggle a little bit after when you went to the interim coach. But then now almost are playing stronger. And like you just said, it's like we went through that and we're cool. So it's sort of giving them this quiet confidence. And Zito did what Talon couldn't do. Like Talon had the core talent, but he couldn't get the veteran. He kept trying to, but he couldn't get the toughness defensively and net minding that they needed to win. And now it seems like all of it's come together. Plus you have Huberdeau, who's sort of gone from being that third guy to the number 1 guy. And then you have Barkov and Ekblad. Like they're the exact team we've wanted for so long. We've just been so downtrodden. Like to talk Panthers with people, they're like, oh, it's like, dude, they've been good for like 2 years now. Like, what do you need for them to be a team you believe in?
Well, I mean, they have been good. They really, the second half of last year, they started to be really good in their playoff series with Tampa.
It was a war.
They gave Tampa everything they could handle. Tampa went on to win the Stanley Cup. Okay, but that was that's one of those series that they probably took into the offseason. Okay, now I see what we need to do to win. Okay, and so, but yeah, Quenneville, that was an awful episode.
Yep.
And that in a 7-game series, the coaching, like everything, matters more. And so, until you get there, you really don't know. I mean, they've rallied this season and are a great team right now. But again, will they miss the experience of a Quenneville when they get to the playoffs? Will Bobrovsky, shine in the playoffs? He's had other playoff moments. He hasn't. He was just benched in the series last year. So, I mean, I'm a believer, but it's not like there aren't questions out there.
Well, one man we don't question is Dave Hyde. Definitely go to Sun Sentinel and get a subscription. Defo and I have needed to do that for years, and it's about time. It's like $1 to start. So definitely check out the South Florida Sun Sentinel and check out this man on Twitter at Dave Hyde Sports. Dave, really appreciate you doing this. Have a great Monday, and I hope we get to talk to you again soon.
All right, Lubie, take care.
Be well, Dave. The one and only, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Dave Hyde, right here on the Defo Show with Lubie on the Eye On channel. Coming up next, or so almost next, sort of next, the one and only, a lot of one and only. See, I get used to these cliches as introductory terms, the great, the legendary, the one and only. But I think they're all fitting. We don't use them. We might use them a lot, but we only use them for people who deserve them. From the one and only Dave Hyde to next, the one and only John Congemi. We talk with John each and every Monday. Dateline Dolphins, we've dubbed it, but it's a lot more than that, as he is a St. Thomas high school legend, then went on to the Pitt Panthers, then went on to play pro ball, and was with ESPN for over 20 years doing college football, and has done a lot of stuff for the Miami Dolphins, 4 years. Dolphins Finsider, does pre-half post games with CBS, does a lot of different things for the Miami Dolphins, and we're lucky to have him each and every Monday. Thank you to Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill of Key Largo. John Congemi will be joining me shortly. This is the Defo Show with Lubie here on the Ion channel. Hopefully everyone had a great weekend. It is my wife's birthday week, and birthday weeks are fine. Like, a lot of times guys make fun of it. You're talking to the wrong person. I am a guy and I love it. Like, yes, I'm getting older. Yes, the next birthday is one of those dreaded ones. 30 was the first dreaded one. Well, 40 is the next one, and next year will be 40. Ugh. But I'm not gonna lie, I still like celebrating it, because look, once you get older, you have less and less reasons to celebrate, right? Like, life can be hard, and it can be long. It's short. Life's short as a whole, but each and every day can feel long. So birthdays are cool because it gives a reason for people to get together and celebrate, and that's my favorite. So I'll do a week. So don't make fun of my wife, because she's definitely doing a week, and a lot of it's because of me. The lovely Shirley, Wednesday is her birthday. So this weekend we went on a boat with jacuzzis on it in 50-degree weather. Yes, we did that, and we survived. And I'm not gonna lie, now when we survived, it was a freaking great time. Like, it was actually a really good time. See the city, and believe me, they're not paying me. It was just, we had a really good time. Check them out if you're down here in South Florida. The colder, probably the better. Like, I don't know if you want to be in a jacuzzi when it's hot as hell outside, but being in a jacuzzi when it's nice and cold is perfect. See the city. We had a blast. You can bring your own alcohol. They don't really want you to bring food, but you can bring alcohol. They help you out. You got a deckhand and a captain. You got the whole nine. And we really, really, really enjoyed ourselves this Saturday, celebrating the love of my life. So maybe one of these days you'll check that out. Coming up next, hopefully you'll check out us with the one and only, the legend that is Mr. John Congemi. We do this each and every Monday morning. Dateline Dolphins, again, brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill of Key Largo, and we'll talk lots about them in the next, I think, 3 weeks. We're going to be heading out there. We went back in like August, September. It was a blast. We really had a good time. Look, I've been to the Keys a lot. I'm born and raised in South Florida. I haven't gone in years, and it's always a good time, but it can always be it's so funny because the Keys, once you're there, is like chill, but like getting down there, it's like a hike for us, and like, it's not the normal beach place, and if you go at the wrong time, it's super packed, and it's hard to get around. It's hard to do stuff. Big Chill is literally the perfect name for it, because the minute you step inside and outside, it's oof, like you just chill. And what's cool about it is you have the beach, you have the water, you have the Keys vibe, but you also have good food. Because a lot of time, we were talking about this last week, Defo and I, but like, a lot of time you get bar food, right? Like, I go to Landlubbers. I'm there every Thursday doing trivia. We love Landlubbers. They are a sponsor for the Trivia Challenge. They're a sponsor for the show. I've been going there literally my entire life. I love Landlubbers, and that's why I like them, is they have quote-unquote bar food, but they don't just do normal bar food in a boring way. They do a really good job with what they do. When you go to the Keys, a lot of the time, like when you go to the Bahamas, right? Like, the destination is the thing. The view is the thing. The location is the thing. So they can throw any shitty burger or any crappy thing together, and it's okay, because you're not there for the food. And people don't even get mad that the food's because you're not there for the food. Big Chill, that's not the case. Jimmy Johnson doesn't attach his name and get involved with something that isn't real deal. Larry Calvano and Dominic Congemi, and Dominic's wife, who is really the lady behind it all, Amanda, do an amazing job, because you have the view, but they don't rest on their laurels. They do really good food, and it's creative, and it's different, and it's fun. So, like, you get the vibe of the Keys, and you also eat well, and they don't kill you price-wise, which, again, anyone who knows me knows that's always near the top of my list. So the Jimmy Johnson Big Chill at Key Largo will bring you John Congemi shortly. And we were there back August, September, did our show there, and I think we're going to be doing it again in the next 2-3 weeks. One and only Tommy Fox is working on that with all the great people at the Big Chill. So we'll definitely talk more about that with John, and we'll talk more about the Super Bowl. Yes, Super Bowl is set. Rams and Bengals. Yeah, that's weird. Like 7 years ago, you would never thought Rams and Bengals are going to be in the Super Bowl. Now the Rams are a perennial winner, going all in the last 4 or 5 years, and now the Bengals got it all right. Freaking Bungles. It's so, like, as a Dolphin fan, that's really annoying. Like, I have friends that are Bengal fans, and I'm happy for them. It's just really annoying, like, to see the Bengals in the Super Bowl and the Dolphins aren't even making the playoffs and now going through a coaching change. But that's life. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about those Miami Dolphins and their coaching search and so much more coming up right here on the Defo Show with Lubie. Again, thank you to Jack, Amy, Brad. We would not be here without them. They do an amazing job, and they really help us. If we don't look good, that's not their fault. Like, they do their best to make us look good. So thank you, everyone with Ion, for helping us be here. Also, 5 Reasons Sports. We have a playlist at 5 Reasons Sports. Ethan Skolnick and Manny and those people do an amazing job. And each and every day you can check out our Believe podcast. This weekend, Brandon Lang was our feature Saturday, so check that out. And check out John Congemi next. Thanks to Jimmy Johnson, Big Chill of Key Largo, right here on the Defo Show with the Lubie on the Ion channel.
It's the Gambling Gourmet for Cafe Seville in Fort Lauderdale. It's one of my favorite places. It is old school joint that's serving Spanish and classic continental cuisine in a cozy, friendly setting. It's at 2768 East Oakland Park Boulevard. They're open every day except Sunday for dinner, starting at 5 p.m. You go in there, you see Joey and his better half, Sally. They are giving the greatest in service. And the food, oh my gosh, it's paella, shrimp with garlic sauce, stuffed veal chop. They serve this great, fantastic, warm sourdough bread. Go to Cafe Seville in Fort Lauderdale and tell them that the Gambling Gourmet sent you.
Hey, folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
Buy or lease a Taos and take it to the house at Deal Volkswagen. Anna and her team make your next VW purchase or lease so easy with new inventory rolling in daily and the biggest selection of certified pre-owned vehicles in the business. You can make your deal online at dealvolkswagen.com or visit the beautiful showroom in the classic location, 3601 Bird Road, right in the heart of the Gables. Or give Anna and the team at Deal a call at 305-448-DEEL. Jettas, Passats, Tiguans, Atlas models, and the hottest vehicle in the industry, the new Taos, all at unbeatable prices and all ready to roll off the showroom floor at the #1 Volkswagen dealership around, Deal Volkswagen.
Hey, folks, Tony Segreto here. You know, since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of old school. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapists, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Jimmy Johnson joins us here on the program. We do have to clarify one thing. You never had Jim Brown on the roster. State because I'm giving you Thurman Thomas and Barry Sanders for the last 12 years. But that's how the legend grows. But I do remember covering the Canes back then. And you came in with Sam Jankovic bringing you in to follow Howard Schnellenberg. And it wasn't necessarily met with the kind of fanfare that the people should have realized that they were going to be in good hands.
It was such a trying time for me because, I took the job because I wanted to live in South Florida. And, I left Thurman Thomas. And by the way, if you ever saw a Football Life with Thurman Thomas, he rips me. His mother, they filed a lawsuit. They did. They filed a lawsuit because they said, hey, we want out of that contract. We went to Oklahoma State because Jimmy Johnson said he was going to be there for my entire career. Well, my entire career was short-lived there.
Yes.
and so I left before he ever played it down. But I left him in good shape. Yeah, every place I've ever been, I left him in great shape.
Yes.
I left Oklahoma State. Pat Jones won about 10 or 11 with Thurman. And then I left the University of Miami and won a couple of championships. And I left the Dallas Cowboys in Switzer, of all people. he won a Super Bowl, going to work at 9 o'clock in the morning and going home at 3 or 4.
Enjoy your trip to work with lots of laughs thanks to Defo and Lubie. Now on the Defo Show.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Defo Show with Lubie. We are here on the Ion channel each and every day and talking about every Monday, unless it's Dan Marino has him on the golf course. It would be a Tuesday. The one and only John Congemi joins us here on the Defo Show with Lubie. John, good morning, my friend. How are you?
I am doing great. What a weekend of football again. I didn't think that we'd be able to top last week's games and the excitement of overtime, but the NFL did it again, and great games by 4 teams that were trying to get to the Super Bowl, and 2 of them achieved their goal.
And of course, John, like I said, and we'll talk more about it, is brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill of Key Largo. We will be getting back there sooner than later, so we'll definitely talk more about them. You just said it's funny because after last weekend, we really were like, okay, well, we were spoiled. We got 4 great games. So at least we got that. Well, now we're really spoiled because we had 6 great games and both came down to the wire yesterday. Before we get into the specifics, what surprised you the most about yesterday's action?
I think the way Cincinnati came back in the football game, Joe Burrow didn't surprise me the way he played. I just thought that there was an opportunity for Kansas City to kind of put it away at halftime. And if they get an opportunity to kick the field goal, I think everybody goes into the locker room with a different attitude. I think Kansas City, for their first 4 series, they went 84 yards, 75 yards, 72 yards, and 80 yards with ease. And they don't get points at the end of the half, and then they come out in their first 5 drives of the second half, total 34 yards. So they lost their mojo somewhere, and I got to pin it on that end of half sequence where they don't get points, and you kind of roll the dice, and everybody thought it was worth the gamble. I'm old school. I'm kick the field goal. Just don't worry about getting the extra points there. Get the points, keep the momentum, keep the hammer down, and go come out in the third quarter and play the same way you've been playing. But Cincinnati had other ideas, and their defense played really well in the second half. And I thought Joe Burrow made the plays he needed to make. He started to find Chase with more regularity, and they found a way to get it into overtime and found a way to win.
Look, and we do this, right? One team choked it away, and we forget about the other team. And I don't want to do that to the Bengals because we've done that the entire playoffs. The Vegas has already done it. They're already a 4-point dog to the Rams. So it's like we just keep egging them on to be like, okay. So I don't want to do that to the Bengals, but of course I now will. Look, Patrick Mahomes is one of those great quarterbacks. You have 9 seconds. I have no problem taking a shot in the end zone, but that's what you do. And it's known, look, we're taking a shot in the end zone. What was weird is he didn't even look in the end zone. He did a quick glance, like, oh, I have Hill. Here you go. And it was like the minute he let it go, you could see that was a bad idea. Are we being, and by we, I mean me and most of the football world, because people aren't really talking about Burrow and Bengals. They're talking about not even the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes. For a guy who's done what he's done and all the tricky stuff has got him here, Or are we being too hard on him? Because to me, I was slamming him yesterday in the second half because he didn't look good.
I think you can be hard on him on that particular play.
Okay.
But I think you have to be harder on the play call. Why put yourself in a position where your only options are in the end zone or over the back of the end zone, and that has to happen within 3 or 4 seconds. That's going to happen right now. And you already know that by the play that's called. But when you give the quarterback an opportunity where he looks very quickly in the end zone because he knows it's a quick glance and nothing's really clean right away, why is your second or third option not in the end zone in that particular instance? I can go back to when the Dolphins played the Raiders coming out of their own end. Why throw a pass in your own end zone when that's the last place you want to throw the football? Why give your quarterback, why call that play where there's an option there? A screen into the back of the end zone, and it turns out horribly. It's the same way going in with no time on the clock and no timeouts. Every football should be thrown in the end zone or thrown in the third row, come out, kick the field goal, no harm down, no foul.
Look, you played quarterback to high school, and that's why we love talking to you, because you can get into the mind of these guys in a way we can't. High school, high level, college, high level, and you played the pros at a high level. It's funny, we take this step back and go, well, everything went downhill from there. Look, the Chiefs have played in Super Bowls, won the Super Bowl, been to 4 straight AFC title games. So it shouldn't be that simple. But when Rex Ryan says it, I don't feel bad when I say it. Like, after that play, the Chiefs, Mahomes specifically, looked deflated and looked different. Is that what you saw? Like, playing the position, can it really ebb and flow that much where one play can really, because they, like you said, they were going up and down the field. And then the Bengals, I'm sure, made adjustments, but Mahomes looked totally different in that second half. He just looked off.
The Chiefs looked off. And I think it's a wonder how that walk into the locker room with your head down and your shoulders kind of slumped can carry over the fog for the third quarter, and you're up and you're clearly dominating a football game. I don't know. You have to give some credit to Cincinnati, because I don't know if it was so much the adjustments they made, but when you play a little bit better, when your level of compete and those windows get a little bit tighter, and now you add pressure in the pocket, and Mahomes starts running around, those are 50-50 opportunities. We saw this with Kansas City earlier in the season. Yeah. They struggled early because when Mahomes was running around, he looked more like he did in the second half than he did the rest of the season and in that first half of the game against the Bengals. Things can happen in a heartbeat sometimes, where that momentum of a game escapes you, and all of a sudden it zaps you of your confidence, it zaps you of your eye discipline, it zaps you of your normalcy of competent reads and timing in the pass offense. But I give a little bit more credit to Cincinnati. I thought they played a little bit tighter in coverage in the second half. They got a lot more pressure in the pocket in the second half, and they made more plays offensively. So just as many plays as Kansas City made in the first half, that's how good Joe Burrow and that offense was in the second half. They ran it really well too. I think that they were more dominant with not a very good offensive line. I mean, I saw the names on some of the back of the jerseys. One guy played for the Dolphins that was cut, was starting at right tackle, and you wouldn't want to put your family behind that line sometimes. But they got it done. They found a way to get it done, and I have to give a little bit more credit to Cincinnati than we're kind of downplaying Mahomes and not making enough plays. There was a reason why he felt a little awkward back there, and there was a reason why he wasn't seeing things clearly. And I think it's more about Cincinnati and their defense.
This is the Defo Show with Lubie. Defo will be back tomorrow. Thank goodness we are lucky to have this man with us, John Congemi. Thank you to Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, Key Largo, and we'll talk a little bit more about them in a second. And that's the thing. The storylines to me are Mahomes played bad, but also, wow, I guess Joe Burrow is really this guy. Like Joe Cool, if it's already his nickname, it needs to be. Like, look, and I still am sort of in the tank for Tua. I really would like to see him given the thing that Herbert and Burrow have been given. I think both have been given receivers and running backs and coaches that gear their offense toward them, and I don't think Tua's had that. But you do have to sit back going, Right now, Tua doesn't look like this guy. Like Joe, like he doesn't like. It's so funny because they panned to him when they lost the overtime, like the coin toss, because they wanted to see him deflated. He was like, like he sort of knew it wasn't done. Like this guy, as a second-year guy coming off of a bad injury that people thought would take a year or plus to get over, already feels like a 10-year veteran for a city. You're from Ohio. Like the Bengals were the Bungles, and it wasn't a joke. Like it was just accepted. For them to have this guy at this time, to me, I was rooting against him, but I am so impressed by him, that Bengals club, because it's rare to see a second-year guy be the leader, and he's the unquestioned leader. Like there's not even a second thought of who's leading that team.
Well, it's hard to believe and hard to fathom that in 2020, this Bengals team went 4-11-1, and they were able to be in a position to select Joe Burrow. And the only disappointment is that the Dolphins couldn't get the deal done with 8,000 first-round draft choices going to Cincinnati and money and whatever, and jewels, whatever we were going to give to get the opportunity to pick Joe Burrow. Because now that you see him play and you see him overcome injury and you see the guys rally around him with the talent around him now, because the next draft they bring in Lamar Chase and you get better on defense and you get more players and you got a running game. You see what happens when you have a caliber of quarterback that's elite, and it's a difference. It's a huge difference, and guys play up to his ability. He brings people up to his ability, and that's what guys have done over the history of the NFL, over the history of playing organized sports. You just take a look at great teams and you look at the great players on those teams. Some of those role players had to elevate their game at certain junctures of their career to get it over the top. Joe Burrow can do only so much, but when you have other players that have that type of ability and you kind of, get a nod back from them, they raise their level of compete and their execution. And Joe Burrow was fabulous. He's been fabulous in the playoffs. He's been fabulous this entire season. And, they're very fortunate to have a guy like that, because the Bengals know going forward, they have a chance now in the AFC North. They're the favorite. They went from the basement 2 years ago to, one game away from winning a championship. So that doesn't happen unless you have the caliber of player at quarterback that they have now. And Joe Burrow's that guy.
Well, and one of your dear friends, if not best friend, is a guy that we were lucky to have for 2 decades here, that no matter what's going on, no matter what the talent the Dolphins had, Marino's there. Okay, we were good. Like you just felt it. How important is it to have that? Because that's the one thing it seems like we're missing with Tua is the team trusts him, but with Burrow, they trust him. Like there is a consummate belief that they're in good hands with this kid. How hard is that to have, and how important is that for a ball club?
You know what? It's very important. And one day that'll go away. Maybe it'll be 12, 14 years down the road. Well, everybody will start booing Joe Burrow. He's not good enough. He can't move. But enjoy the 10 or 12 years that you have with an elite quarterback, with a guy that's going to be terrific. It's very important. Your franchises are lucky to go through periods of, 10, 12, 14-year chunks of quarterback play that's elite. And it doesn't come around all that often. When you think about the great teams and the great franchises and their runs that they've made, yes, they've had great defenses. Yes, they've had playmakers on offense, Hall of Famers on both sides of the football. But the majority of the time, their best player week in and week out played the position of quarterback. And, on a rare occasion, LT maybe with the Giants, you could say he might have been the best player on that team. Undoubtedly so, but it might flip back and forth, right? Because LT might not be available for 3 weeks because of an off the field decision, right? So, but I'm saying it doesn't take away from his talent, and it doesn't take away from what he brought to the table. But on the majority of the San Francisco, the Pittsburgh Steelers, you go through the runs, the New England Patriots, you go through the runs of these teams from wherever you're at, the quarterback usually was the guy that was playing the most consistent. He was the best player for those period of years to take that team through that run. And I just think that Joe Burrow is one of those guys. And how about you look at guys that get lucky on the other game. I mean, Matthew Stafford, he'd still be, everybody would be downplaying him in Detroit. Everybody knew he was elite, but he had to get a cast of characters around him and a scheme and guys to buy in to really go like, wow, wipe him off a little bit more. Hey, there's a shine coming off of this guy, right? So the same with Joe Burrow. He overcomes injury, overcomes a little bit of a roller coaster start on a bad team. All of a sudden, you get a couple more pieces, and now this guy shows how good he is.
This is the Defo Show with Lubie here on Ion Channel, talking with the one and only John Congemi. Thank you to Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill of Key Largo, and we will get to the NFC title game, and we will talk about the Miami Dolphins head coaching search. But what was the big news until yesterday at 3:00? You talked about the Patriots. Was the seeming, again, he hasn't said anything, and we're in a day and age where the players speak for themselves. So until Tom Brady releases a statement and does a TB12 documentary, we don't know for sure. But the fact that every news outlet and every sports outlet has done their montages, it feels like the end of the Tom Brady career is here. Look, down here in South Florida, we have a special relationship with Tom Brady and those Patriots. But the dude won 7 Super Bowls, did it for 2 different franchises, and he did it with an organization that sort of tried to tie his hands behind his back and have him win with no hands, let alone one hand. When I say the name Tom Brady, what comes to mind for you?
Super Bowls, championships, elite quarterback play. I won't say, just because Tom has Super Bowls and he's played at such an elite level for, 20 plus years, everybody just says, well, he's the greatest of all time. And he very well could be. He's probably the greatest of his time, no doubt, and could be the greatest of all time. I always like to look at quarterbacks in their eras and when they played and who they played against and how they played. And there's no doubt, Tom Brady's at the top of the list when you take a look at championships and what he's done and, touchdowns, all the records that Tom's had. I just think of the grittiness of Tom Brady gets lost in terms of, everybody thinks that he does it because he's a pretty boy and he looks good doing it. But there's a grit to Tom Brady that I appreciate probably the most for me personally, because he just gets it done. He wills teams to get it done. And even on days that he's might not have his fastball or days that just isn't happening, they always found a way to win. And that's the greatest compliment you could give a individual player and a group of men, a team. They always found a way to win, and he always did it by his play. He led that team. He drove that team, whether he was in New England or Tampa Bay. Whether he retires or not, and whether it's a big production and the word got out a little bit early, I don't know if he's going to retire. He could probably play another 2 years if he wanted to. It all depends on how the house at Indian Creek's going. If it's ready to be lived in, he'll probably retire and start playing golf and move on to his next venture. But if it's not, maybe he gives it one more shot. Maybe he gives it another year. This word wouldn't have gotten out if there wasn't some truth to it. But maybe Tom wants to do it in his own way. You're probably right. It's going to be a big montage of production and maybe he does it after he collects that $15 million after a certain date as well. So for a guy that's made that much money, if it was 1 or 2, I could see blowing it off. But 15 is a different number. So we'll see what happens in the weeks to come. But I'd like to see him play one more year, to be honest with you, because he probably wants to. But like he said in the beginning, it's not only his decision, it's his family's decision. So they'll come to it in a couple of weeks.
Well, you said an interesting word there, gritty. And it's so funny because Jimmy Johnson's a guy I'll never forget when they won that first Super Bowl. Emmitt Smith, the first thing Emmitt Smith wanted to do was mess his hair up because Jimmy Johnson was known sort of, in a sense, pretty. He had to have the right hair. But anyone who's talked to Jimmy Johnson knows he ain't pretty. Gritty is the exact word. And that's sort of what I feel like Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill of Key Largo. Like, that's a great word for it because it has the Keys feel. But then Larry, Dominic, Amanda, the Congemis, and Jimmy don't mess around, and there's a real grit to making sure everyone has a great time every time they're out at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill of Key Largo.
Yeah, those names you mentioned, they bring the work ethic to the Big Chill, right? They get it shining pretty good, and they're the drivers of the bus down there. They do such a great job of prepping not only food, but prepping how beautiful Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill looks in Key Largo. And I'm sure the last 2 Sundays and Saturdays down there must have been crazy in that newly renovated sports bar. They must have had a great time, a great crowd, a lot of people yelling, a lot of people going home disappointed, walking out to the tiki bar and having a cocktail and not feeling as good, not accepting that those Bayside views that you get at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. But you're right, from the food to the beverage to the scenery to the to putting your feet up and just relaxing, that's the place to be. And it's going to be exciting. We'll get a chance to go down there coming up in February and hopefully get to sit down with Jimmy and talk a little football. The Super Bowl probably will be behind us, and we'll take a look at the year. But it's a great spot to go, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers and listeners have already been down there and enjoyed Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill.
And if you haven't, well, if you have, first of all, go back. And if you haven't, believe me, it's definitely worth a trip. Talking about a trip, we have the Super Bowl set. We talked about the AFC Championship. Coming up next, we will talk about the NFC title game. The Rams outlasted San Francisco 49ers right here, the Defo Show with Lubie on the Ion channel. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill of Key Largo brings you John Congemi next after this.
Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey, folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
Hey, it's Mike Mayo for Even Keel Fish Shack, corner of A1A and Commercial Boulevard at Lauderdale by the Sea. It's my favorite place now for great seafood in a casual beachfront setting. They've got happy hour 4 to 7 Monday through Friday. They've got great dishes like grilled oysters and oysters on the half shell, bang bang shrimp, lobster rolls, octopus. They also have burgers and chicken for those who don't like the seafood. They're open 7 days a week for a lunch, dinner, and weekend brunch. Go to Even Keel Fish Shack. Go say hi to Dave and Brad and tell them the Gambling Gourmet sent you.
Recently, we realized it's not just hurricane season that can hurt us. Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business. And the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. Before you call your insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752. Would you go into court without an attorney? So why would you go up against an insurance company without Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa? 7 to 10 times more money recovered with a public adjuster than if you went on your own. If there's no recovery, there's no fee. Give them a call at 954-809-8752. Why go up against insurance companies alone when you can have Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa on your side?
Buy or lease a Taos and take it to the house at Deal Volkswagen. Anna and her team make your next VW purchase or lease so easy with new inventory rolling in daily and the biggest selection of certified pre-owned vehicles in the business. You can make your deal online at dealvolkswagen.com or visit the beautiful showroom in the classic location, 3601 Bird Road, right in the heart of the Gables. Or give Anna and the team at Deal a call at 305-448-DEEL. Jettas, Passats, Tiguans, Atlas models, and the hottest vehicle in the industry, the new Taos, all at unbeatable prices and all ready to roll off the showroom floor at the #1 Volkswagen dealership around, Deal Volkswagen. We welcome to the show John Congemi, who joins us for Dateline Dolphins. John, how are you, my friend?
Defo, I'm doing well, and that's not the only thing that's going to reach a new height. I'll be at about 220, 225 after this football season if we visit too much. Outstanding down at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill.
Grab a bagel and a schmear, plus some Defo and Lubie. Welcome back to the Defo Show.
Alrighty, welcome back to the Defo Show with Lubie here on Ion Channel. That man you see right there, the one and only John Congemi, again brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill of Key Largo. We talked about the AFC Championship game. The Chiefs blow a historical 18-point lead, 21-3, nearing the end of the first half, lose 27-24, and the Bengals are in the Super Bowl for the first time since 1988. On the other side, the NFC title game, you had the Rams, who were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, and you had the Niners. So it's two teams that have been to the Super Bowl. Niners 2 years ago lost to those Chiefs. The Niners get a 10-point lead. The Rams come back and win 20-17, and they will be the second straight team to host a Super Bowl. What I have to say this before we get into the game, being a fan of the Dolphins, and we do have the Bills and the Patriots and the Jets who have randomly a ton of fans down here. It was a little weird. Like, you heard the stories all week where, are they really the home team, the Rams? No, they weren't.
No.
Like, at least when the Dolphins play in the playoffs, it's a home. Like, that was weird, man. Like, I would look away and I'd hear a cheer. I'm like, oh, good for the Rams. And no, the Niners had just gotten a touchdown. Like, I'm not going to lie. That was a little strange that, like, the Rams were home, but the Niners had, it seemed like a clear-cut advantage when it came to the fans.
It did, and it has been at that stadium since it's opened. San Francisco's had the Rams number. Would they win 5 in a row? I believe against them, right? So, and they've been really good on the road. It was a strange thing, probably for the Rams players, but they're probably used to it, and they wanted to put a stop to it, and they did yesterday. And watching that game, Lubie, it just seemed like even though San Francisco had that 10-point lead, for me, it never felt safe. I never, if I was a San Francisco fan, I probably never felt comfortable in that game, just knowing the firepower that the Rams have. And all of a sudden, when that defense starts to turn it up a little bit, that's what felt like for me turned the tide of the game. I mean, the defense kind of started turning it up a little bit, and then you don't close out games. Good teams find a way to close out games when you have opportunities, and you don't let those chances slip through your fingertips. And San Francisco did that defensively. They had a chance with an interception to kind of take the ball, take 4 minutes off the clock, not really give Stafford a chance to do much at the end of that game, and they didn't. And that kind of kept the window open for Cooper Kupp and Odell Beckham Jr. and just players, and Stafford to be able to do it. And then the defense really tightened the screws and got after Jimmy Garoppolo, and that was enough to win a game at home with an away feel to it.
Exactly. They may have a better home field advantage in the Super Bowl. At least it's all glitz.
I don't know. Who Day may be coming to LA. That's a trip that I'm sure Cincinnati Bengal fans won't want to miss.
Yeah, so they probably will be a road team again, even in their home stadium. The big takeaways for me were, first of all, we need to talk more about Cooper Kupp. Like, I heard a lot about it finally this week. I did not realize that he had a Jerry Rice year. Like, my buddy was like, he should have been the MVP. I'm like, what are you talking about? Because he's always hurt. Like, Cooper Kupp's a guy that's good, but he's always hurt.
Triple crown, right? He was the leader in every category you can imagine.
A lot. Like, he had like 140 something catches. He had like almost 20 touchdowns. He had like almost like 2,000. He's like over 2,000. He had some ridiculous amount of yards. I was like, where the hell did this come from? Like, where have we been that we're not talking about Cooper Kupp? And so that was one takeaway. And the other was good for Stafford. Like, to me, he's always been the guy that finds a way to lose a game at the end. And these last 2 games, even when things went wrong, for the first time really in his career, he was, talk about Joe Cole, he was the guy that was like, no, we're good. We're good. And that's not been Stafford, or was the line, whatever it was. I was like, good for you. I felt like I wanted to give him the proverbial pat on the back, because it felt like he never got too high or too low. And that's sort of not been him. Like, usually he's very volatile, at least by his play. He's been the one constant thing for that team offensively. And the connection between him and Cooper Kupp is pretty outstanding.
I think that Stafford's been able to ascend to a different level of quarterback this year, right? You take him out of wherever you had him pegged in there permanently for the rest of time. And I think you elevate him, and just by his arm strength, just by his decision making, just by the way he drives the football, couldn't appreciate how good Stafford played in his career in Detroit, because he never got the results that sometimes his play warranted. Now you couple him with an offensive-minded coach that has the pieces to make his offense synergistic to what Stafford does well as a quarterback. Yeah. And I guess you owe it all to a Cabo trip in the offseason. They go to vacation, you kind of talk a little bit. Hey, why don't you trade for me and find a way to get me to LA? It works out. And oh, by the way, in the middle of the season, we're going to give you another elite piece besides Cooper Kupp. We're going to give you Odell Beckham Jr., who you can kind of work into the rotation. And now, what a great Robin to Batman, scenario you have out there with Cooper Kupp, because Cooper Kupp seems to me all he wants to do is win. And if he produces along the way, no big deal. I'm going to do my deal. And if, by the way, other people help out in the process or take the lead, in a particular game, it's okay with me. I just think that you have to be, at some point, you have to be selfish enough to want the ball all the time, but you have to be, experienced enough and smart enough to know it takes other pieces of the puzzle to win it all. And, you just look at all the times that Joe Montana and John Elway and all the guys and Tom Brady have won championships. They've always had their main receiver. They've always had one guy, but it's those auxiliary pieces that kind of put it together that, when Phil Simms hits McConkey, you're not thinking McConkey in that situation, right? You're thinking tight end, or you're thinking somebody else. When Jerry Rice is on the team, you're not thinking somebody else going to catch a winning, touchdown pass in a Super Bowl that's going to close it out in Taylor. Yeah. But those guys find ways to contribute when the main guy is, kind of the decoy on a certain play. And that's what happened with the Rams. They got a two-headed monster at running back that go north and south. That is a hard running game to stop because of the way they go about it. And you've got pieces on the outside that are just, where do you match up? You run out of players on defense when you're trying to defend the Rams.
Well, and that's true. I didn't even think about that. When you can get Odell Beckham Jr. to be your second receiver and he's happy about it, that's always been his problem. It's never been talent. It's been the me thing. And that's fine to a certain extent, but you have to know when to take a step back. The fact that you haven't heard anything from him, and that was like one of his first 100-yard receiving games with the Rams, and you wouldn't have known that because hasn't been OBJ. That's actually impressive that they've sort of all been able to just fit right into their roles. And look, they got Von Miller. I forgot they had Von Miller. He just is really quick, and he's okay with stepping the main.
We're talking about all these pieces on the offense. We haven't even gotten to that side of the football, how good they are on that side of the football with Ramsey, on one edge, and you got Aaron Donald, and you've got beast all around him up front, and you've got players that fit the mold of what they want to do. I think eventually, at some point, whether they win or lose a Super Bowl, in 2 weeks, and how good they're going to be next year, that offensive frustration of not being number one or number two, that'll come to a head at some point, and they'll move on from Odell Beckham Jr. I'm sure something will happen. It's just the way it is. It's just the track record. It's not going to. Those stripes aren't going to change. But let's ride it out. If you're the Rams right now, let's ride it out because it is something really good, and it is something productive. We're winning football games because they have a really good team. I mean, they are unstoppable. It's tough. They're tough to block up front. I think that's going to be a tough matchup for the Bengals in the Super Bowl in 2 weeks. And they score points, and they've got matchup nightmares on the outside. You just run out of players. You run out of your good players to go, what about this guy? What about that guy? It's just tough defending them.
This is Defo Show with Lubie here on Ion Channel. We are talking with the one and only John Congemi. Thank you to Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill of Key Largo. Yes, it is Dateline Dolphins. We will talk about those Dolphins as John is Mr. Finsider. He's highly involved with CBS4 and the Miami Dolphins. So we will talk about their head coaching search. Before we move on from the NFC Championship, I do want to turn to the Niners a bit because the funny thing is the big storyline all week, it seemed like, was everyone sort of made the Niners the favorite, even though they weren't. And Jimmy G, right? You had everyone on the Niners coming to his Deebo Samuel. He's my quarterback. He felt like T.O. defending Jeff Garcia. This is my quarterback, damn it. And he's the man. Look, that's saying that I don't really, it's hard. It sounds like bad English. You can lose with Jimmy G, but you're not going to win without him. I still don't understand the grammar there, but I guess it makes sort of sense. Well, they lost with him. What was your take on Jimmy G and the Niners going forward? Because again, people forget they traded up to get a quarterback number 3 overall last year. Like, it wasn't even like the Packers drafting a guy at the end of the first round. They traded up a lot to get to 3 to draft a quarterback. He didn't lose in the game. Jimmy G played fine in that game. Like, he probably is maligned in that sense, but he also does, to me, feel like what Stafford used to feel like. It feels they have everything, but that's what it feels like to me. They have the line. Deebo Samuel is not a human being. They can run the ball now. That guy Mitchell is a legit back. Their defense is astounding.
Yeah,
and Jimmy's good. He just doesn't feel, to me, the guy that's going to really get him over the hump. What do you think when you look at the Niners and Jimmy Garoppolo?
Well, the problem is that you're not going to let Trey Lance sit on the sidelines after wasting not wasting all the picks, after investing in all the picks. And you want to see him play a full season. You want to see him come out and be your franchise quarterback, because that's why you traded with the Dolphins. That's why you got yourself in a position of number 3 to pick the one you wanted after somebody else goes at 1 and 2. So I just don't think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be around in San Francisco next year. But I do think he can help somebody. I do think Jimmy is a good quarterback. I don't know if he's the guy that's going to get you where you need to go. And I wouldn't put the losses, I wouldn't hang it all on Jimmy G in that football game. I thought he did a lot of great things. Early in that game, they probably have a huge play that may score, and he misses them down the middle of the field. Quarterbacks do that, but not at that level. He's wide open, right? Yeah. So maybe, he's a guy that you can win with. I don't know if you can win everything with him. Maybe you can with the right cast of characters. Maybe, they play that game 10 times. San Francisco may win it the majority of the times. But on that night, he didn't play I guess, well enough to win the game. He didn't lose it, but he didn't play well enough to win it.
So the Niners are out. The Rams move on. SuperBowl LIV, or not LIV, we already did. SuperBowl 56 will be in Los Angeles 2 weeks from yesterday. Rams home, I guess, versus, as you said, your home state, Cincinnati Bengals, Houday. And I've already have buddies going, I need a ticket. I'm like,
yeah.
Good luck.
Good luck, right?
Good luck. That will take place Sunday, February 13th. This is the Defo Show with Lubie right here on IN Channel. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill of Kilaga brings you John Congemi. I do want to get into the Dolphins coaching search, as we have 4 head coaching slots still open. 4 have been filled. The Dolphins, the Jacksonville Jaguars, New Orleans Saints, and Minnesota Vikings still looking for head coaches, as the Raiders are supposedly having Josh McDaniels as their next head coach. Before we move to anything else we're missing, we haven't really talked. We'll have 2 weeks to talk about the matchup between the Bengals and the Rams. But anything, look, it's Kyle Shanahan, a guy that's now given up another lead. Is there a black mark against him? Because that's funny. The other big losses he's had hung on him a lot more. People don't really put that on him yesterday. But it is interesting. Again, they had a big lead. And like you said, it went into the second half. I think it went into the fourth quarter, actually. That was the whole thing. It was like the biggest deficit overcame in conference championship history in the fourth quarter. And the funny thing is, usually if a team has a 2-score lead that has a good defense in the fourth quarter, you feel confident. You're exactly right. Like, I was just waiting. Yeah, the Rams are coming back. Like, that's happening.
Yeah.
Is that a mark against Shanahan? Like, I mean,
I don't know, Lubie. I would say the same thing about Jimmy Garoppolo. Everybody's hanging on him. He was the quarterback. He couldn't get it done. They got to get rid of him. It's the same thing. I think everybody shares in the responsibility of not being able to get it done. Other guys are going to have the spotlight a little bit brighter on them because you're the head coach, because you're the quarterback, because maybe you're the star wide receiver or the star corner, whatever position you play. But I think everybody, it's a shared environment. When you win, the light shines a little bit brighter on those stars, but it took everybody. You know, you don't talk about the offensive tackle a whole bunch, but he was out there keeping the guy clean, you know, for 60 minutes, right? In a loss, it seems like those lights are a little bit brighter on certain players, but it's a shared environment. I mean, how well does the 49ers outcome become if Tartt's able to catch the interception?
Yes.
Okay. So everybody's blaming Jimmy G, and now it's the head coach, but they weren't out there, you know, playing center field on a fluttering pass, right? So you make that play, or you make another play somewhere along the line. Everybody seems to, you know, they forget those plays, but it's a shared environment. So I always thought that, you know, when you win, you get too much of the praise if you're a quarterback or you're running back or a wideout or whatever position you play. When you lose, you get a little bit more of the tarnish. You know, I just think that a lot of NFL fans watching that game kind of knew that the Rams were too good to be put in that position, that they were going to find a way to come back. And it was up to San Francisco to make a play to stop them. They didn't make that play, right? The Rams came back. They got in position. They did what they needed to do. They found they found a way to win. And teams that are kind of destined, teams that you feel like are going to be there at the end of the day, they seize those opportunities and make those plays. San Francisco didn't do it on that particular day, and that's why they're on the outside looking in.
This is the Defo Show with Lubie here on the ION channel. When we get back, all you South Floridians, I know we'll make you happy, but we'll definitely talk about the Miami Dolphins head coaching search. That is still ongoing again. 4 slots filled, 4 left among those Miami Dolphins. Thank you to Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill of Key Largo. When we get back, we'll talk more NFL, more football with John Congemi, and of course, more Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill of Key Largo right here, the Defo Show with Lubie on ION channel.
Hey there, it's Mike Mayo. Do you like steaks? Do you like seafood? Do you like classic old Florida charm? You could get that all and more at Tropical Acres Steakhouse and Butcher Shop. It's at 2500 Griffin Road in Dania, just west of 95. The Studiali family, they've been running the place a long time. It's been there more than 70 years. And it is now a place you can get early bird specials along with steaks to take home and throw on the grill yourself at the Butcher Shop. That's open 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. every day. It's open for dinner every night starting at 4:30, but they are closed on Sundays. Go to Tropical Acres. It's a place to go for a great meal, great people, good value. Tropical Acres.
The championship meet is right around the corner at Gulfstream Park. The only place for live racing, Gulfstream's action has never been hotter. Whether it's on the track, in the casino, or part of the dining and entertainment offered at the Village of Gulfstream Park. Currently running Thursday through Sunday, Gulfstream's racing package is the best in the country, with all the top horses and people in the game pointing towards another tremendous winter season. Check out the remodeled first floor casino, open 7 days and nights a week, along with the many special events and concerts happening at Gulfstream Park. You can place your wagers from anywhere at firstbet.com. Check the calendar of events at gulfstreampark.com.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Hey, folks, Tony Segreto here. You know, since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapists, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, There is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
Buy or lease a Taos and take it to the house at Deal Volkswagen. Anna and her team make your next VW purchase or lease so easy with new inventory rolling in daily and the biggest selection of certified pre-owned vehicles in the business. You can make your deal online at dealvolkswagen.com or visit the beautiful showroom in the classic location, 3601 Bird Road, right in the heart of the Gables. Or give Anna and the team at Deal a call at 305-448-DEEL. Jettas, Passats, Tiguans, Atlas models, and the hottest vehicle in the industry, the new Taos, all at unbeatable prices and all ready to roll off the showroom floor at the #1 Volkswagen dealership around, Deal Volkswagen. State Line Dolphins with John Congemi by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill in the Keys, and we're looking very much forward to doing some broadcasts there. I think we're going to head down there like once a month during the football season. I have to ask you this, and feel free to, not necessarily spill the beans from a personal standpoint to your good friend Dan Marino. Does he experience, or did he ever experience nightmares about handing the ball off to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar that one year when Jimmy insisted on running the ball on every play? And it was always, the announcer, I think it was Ron St. John, was a stadium announcer back then, and you could hear him say, hand off to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, gain of 1, 2nd and 9. Hand off to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, gain of 1, 3rd and 8. Can he ever talk about that?
No, he's never really talked about that, Defo. But you're right. I think they did have that on loop at whatever the stadium was called at that time.
It was 1 yard every time. And it was a generous 1 yard they were giving him statistically.
Enjoy your trip to work with lots of laughs thanks to Defo and Lubie. Now on the Defo Show.
Speaking of those Dolphins, this is Dateline Dolphins with John Congemi again. Thank you to Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill of Key Largo. All right, we've teased it long enough. The Miami Dolphins have flirted with head coaches. They are supposedly on round 2 of interviews with some head coaches. A guy that a lot of people thought was their front runner is now the head coach of the New York Giants, and Brian Daboll. So I turned to the man who is a Finsider, who works with the Dolphins and CBS down here talking Dolphins. Where are you at we talked with Dave Hyde about it, with the Dolphins head coaching search? Jim Harbaugh, the weekend was spent rumoring about him. Mike McDaniel, the San Francisco 49er, offense coordinator, is a guy a lot of people are really excited about, hoping he's the guy. What are some of the names you're interested in, and who's someone you'd be excited about as a Dolphins next head coach?
Well, I think right now the Dolphins have a plan, but it was altered. I think Brian Daboll was going to be their head coach, and they probably had his name highlighted and circled. And then the relationship, hiring a GM and that relationship with Brian going to New York probably made more sense to him. Right now, I think the Dolphins, if you parse what Stephen Ross, the owner of the Dolphins, said when they let go of Brian Flores, and you take a look at the list now, it's not going to make sense if you go ahead and hire Mike McDaniel, because you're looking for a guy with head coaching experience. He has coaching experience, but not as a head coach. He's a younger guy. He's been in the NFL for 15 years. He's coached for 6 different teams. So he has that type of experience. But I thought, a guy on the list would be more like a Jim Harbaugh, now a Sean Payton, if he wants to come back and coach the Miami Dolphins or had interest. A guy like Todd Bowles, more of a guy like that has that NFL experience and knows what he's getting into with the Miami Dolphins. So right now, I think the front runner has got to be McDaniel. I think Kellen Moore has an outside chance. But neither one of those guys have head coaching experience. So I think that they're going to lean to their offensive experience, being that experience, not head coach per se. But if they do hire one of the 2 younger guys, I think they'll lean on their offensive expertise and hopefully to turn around Tua Tagovailoa in terms of how he can be a franchise quarterback. What type of offense are they going to be able to run? How creative can you be, and how can you get the best out of the guy that you drafted in the first round, 5th overall, to lead this franchise? That's what they're thinking. I would assume if you go with 2 of the younger guys. Jim Harbaugh is the wild card. If he's going to interview with the Minnesota Vikings, And Stephen Ross has given so much money to the University of Michigan over the years, and he's your guy. You missed on him the first time about 10 or 12 years ago, and he doesn't come now. That tells me that Jim Harbaugh just doesn't want to maybe work for Stephen Ross and the Miami Dolphins. If he's available, you would think Stephen Ross has got to go out and get him, and that would be a no-brainer head coach hire for both parties.
Well, and that's the big, I guess, question or big danging participle is Ross made sure right after, because the Michigan people, because people like me, my first move was, and I even talked about it when Brian Flores was let go, was, they're getting Harbaugh, because you're not going to get rid of a guy who may not quote unquote be a winning head coach, but a guy that is on the ascent unless you have your backup plan, right? Well, then they didn't. And he came out and said, to calm down the Michigan people, I would never take Jim Harbaugh away from Michigan. But I said it at the time, if Harbaugh says he wants to go or is open to the NFL, which he has said, he didn't even deny it, he said it.
Right.
He's interviewed in Minnesota. Before the Raiders hired McDaniels, there were murmurs that they were going to interview Harbaugh. If he's going to leave to go to the NFL,
why not here?
Taking him, exactly. Then you're not taking him, right? He's leaving, and you're just redirecting him to your organization. It feels weird for the Harbaugh to not be the guy to me. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on, let's say they get Jim Harbaugh? What kind of hire is that?
Well, I think it's a solid hire because you're hiring to what you're preaching. You know, when the owner of the organization comes out and says, I want my next head coach to have experience. I want him to have collaboration with the people that I have in the building. I want to have synergy from top to bottom. If you feel like you have such a great relationship as an owner with a guy that you probably propped up to the University of Michigan and not only propped up in terms of talking about him and hiring him, but feeding that university with money to pay him, you would think you'd like to be selfish once and take him for your own organization in the NFL with the Miami Dolphins and have him fit all those qualities that you talked about. So I think it would be a good hire. He brings experience in the National Football League. He's a tough coach. He's an offensive-minded coach. He played the position. Maybe there's some changes that he wants to make that he sees from the outside that people from within don't really see. And that's healthy sometimes. That's a good cleansing process when somebody comes in from the outside, because sometimes when you're in it, you don't see a lot of things that may need adjustments or may need to be talked about. For me, it's really weird that Doug Peterson wasn't involved in this process from the beginning, because he fits all those qualifications as well. So I don't know where the Dolphins are going to go. They're probably, if they don't get Jim Harbaugh, they're probably going to lean towards one of those two young coaches, either in Kellen Moore or Mike McDaniel. So I think that's where they're at right now. And the Bears hire, the Broncos hire, the Giants hire, the Raiders seem to be hired. So you only have another handful of teams with Miami, and you're closing in on the Super Bowl window. There's only two teams that have coaching staffs put together that are still coaching. So you have to make a decision, I would think, within the next week, to 10 days at the most.
Yeah, Peterson was one that I thought was interesting because he did have the Dolphin ties. He was there, played the game that Shula won his record win. He was a head coach. He won a Super Bowl. He also is a new look offensive guy where he likes to do the RPO stuff that would fit Tua. He actually seemed to be the exact kind of guy, and he was never in the mix, which a lot of us find weird.
Never even got an interview.
Yeah, it's just interesting. I don't get that at all. But one thing you will get is a great time, great food, lots of fun if you head down to Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill of Key Largo. Before we get out of here, John, I know it's in the works for us to get back down there. If people want to get down there, what are some of the ways they can get in touch? Or because I know you can stay there too. I didn't do it. Defo did, and he didn't even let me in the room because I would be pissed at him the whole time. If people want to head down there, if things going on, or they want to get in touch with Jimmy Johnson's Big Show of Key Largo, how can they do that?
Well, you can just go online and take a look at the place. And do yourself a favor and pull up Jimmy Johnson's on your phone or on your iPad and take a look at the place, and all the information's there. I mean, it's right there in Key Largo. It's just a beautiful spot to be. The weekends have live music. The food's always fantastic. The sights are what get me. Every time I go there, I feel like I let my guard down and I can have a beverage of my choice, kind of just relax on on a chair and kick my feet up and have a few toddies and not worry about what's going on in the real world. So I would highly recommend going down to Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, right over the bridge there in Key Largo. I believe it's mile marker 106. Just a great place to be. And I can't wait. I know we're going to go in a couple weeks, Lubie. So hopefully Defo will be a little bit more friendly if he does have the accommodations hook up this time again and kind of let you in and spend a night or two.
Exactly. I appreciated spending this time with you, Mr. Congemi. Have a great week and look forward to Dealing Dolphins next Monday. Again, the one and only John Congemi. Thanks a lot, John.
Thanks, Lubie.
This has been the Defo Show with Lubie here on ION Channel. Don't forget, check out everything we're doing here each and every day. All you have to do is Google the Defo Show, and you get everything we've done here. It's been over 3 months. It's crazy. Big thank you to Jack, Amy, and Brad. Keep us afloat here on the Defo Show on ION Channel. Yes, I promise we made it through. My time is done solo. I'll be here, of course, with the big man himself, the legend, the icon, Jeff Deforrest. Mayo calls him Jeff Defo Deforrest. That just feels weird. Jeff Deforrest, or Defo as I know him. Tune in tomorrow, 7 o'clock for Def and me. And always check us out on Believe.com. Search After Hours. I had a lot of fun with Brandon Lang. Had a lot of fun last week with all of our guests. So we have a lot going on there. And also check us out on 5 Reasons Sports Network. Thank you to Ethan Skolnick and Manny putting us up there. But each and every day, 7 to 9, right here, Defo and Lubie.com/live, and Google the Defo Show for John Congemi, for Dave Hyde, for Mr. Vegas himself, Jeff Deforrest. I am Mike Lubitz. We'll check you out tomorrow, right here, the Defo Show with Lubie on ION Channel.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my show.